We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We're up here in beautiful Carroll County doing our second segment. If you just joined us on the radio, please go back and listen to the first segment. You'll learn a lot about the history of horse racing in the state. We're in a bowling alley. This is a duck pin. Folks outside of town don't know what this is all about, but we're up here at Greenmount Bowl. It is the bowling center adjacent, literally, to Greenmount Station, where, oh my God, I've probably done 100 radio shows at Greenmount Station over the last 15 years. Many of them featured in the 25th anniversary documentary this week. I know the Steve Smith piece, and Todd Heap, and all sorts of Jen Strong stuff, and Luke Jones, our partner. We're going to be at Fadley's on Friday, every Friday during the football season, courtesy of our friends at the Maryland Lottery. I have Pac-Man scratch-offs. Raven scratch-offs. It must be giraffe weekend. Pac-Man scratch-offs will be giving away on Friday at Fadley's, also up here at Greenmount Station, where I just had a delicious crab cake. Now, Alan Foreman's here with us, and David Richardson from Greenmount Bowl, but it's been, a year or so since I came up here and did the show, maybe 8 months ago, and I love the crab cake. It's the Angelina's crab cake. I always say that to Chris.
I'll tell you
and Chris isn't here right now to talk about gambling, crab cakes, ribs, family events, clowns, balloon makers.
Except for Nestor, you eat them fried, man. You got to have broiled. They got to be broiled. Sorry.
Dundalk guy getting all Gucci on
sorry,
me.
man.
Fried's
you
not
can't
good
fry
enough.
a
It was good
crab
enough for my
cake.
mother. It was good enough for my
Can't fry
mother.
a
It's good
crab
enough for
cake.
you. When I left, we were talking about where the horse racing industry is going. And folks may be wondering what we're doing in a bowling alley. And we just spent 30 minutes having a crab cake here and talking about the history of this building. So we'll get to the horse racing in a minute as I'm holding a bowling pin here. The only bowling story I have, I bowl as a duck pin bowler, but I had never bowled 10 pins in my life. And there's a reason for that. I'm missing a finger, right? I had a finger amputated in a lawnmower accident in 1972. I was 3 years old. And thinking about putting this nub into a ball, like the thing that hurts the most in life was when I would answer the phone and bang it because of the nerve endings. So I duck pin bowl all of my life, all of the 25th anniversary, which I know you guys are going to watch the documentary. There is league night. We did a duck pin challenge at Pinland in Dundalk beginning in 1997, and we did it for probably 10 years. And we did it. It was always the weekend of the ACC tournament. So it was the weekend. It was a Thursday night, usually, Wednesday or Thursday. And Steve LaTrenta and the LaTrenta family, who own Looney's, one of the partners in Looney's, had the duck pin bowling alley in Dundalk. It was Pinland, Dundalk. So I had never touched a 10-pin ball in my life. But one of my oldest and very dear friends is Danny Wiseman. Danny was a Dundalk bowling head from the time I knew him. We traded baseball cards when we were 11 years old at Berkshire. And Danny was always the kid on Saturday that went to Colt Lanes and to Bowl America because they were all 10 pins. Yep. And we made fun of him because we all had a good time bowling in the Highland Tanners League at East Point on Saturday morning, but he was off with the adults. Because adults were like, little 8-year-old kids don't pick up 10 pins, right? So I never picked up a 10-pin ball in my life. So Danny Wiseman became my annual celebrity off the tour always, where he would come down to Dundalk. And some years he would decline because he said picking up a duck pin ball screwed him all up.
Different game.
Right? It was like being in a batting cage at softballs at a baseball. So he got injured and he started bowling. And he couldn't bowl duck pins to save his life. So he would come down every year to our charity event. We did it for Ed Block. And you'll see it in the documentary because the year John Buren did it, Nikolai Volkov, they didn't have a shoe for him. They didn't have a shoe that fit. And Michael Jackson, the Thriller from the Ravens, he was a duck pin bowler. So Eric Rett was a great 10-pin bowler.
No kidding.
Yeah, Heinz Ward, Jerome Bettis.
Jerome Bettis was a fantastic
huge
10-pin bowler.
Right? So Danny every year would make fun of me, duck pins, child's game, come play a man's game and get in the PBA Hall of Fame and be a champion, 20-time champion and all that. So Danny always was trying to get me and my son, when my son was little, to bowl 10 pins. And for years he tried to get us out. And finally, this happened. I have the picture of the three of us the day it happened. My son looks to be 16 or 17. My son was in high school. So this is 2001 that I finally bowl. So I'm 34 years old at the time, 22 years ago. And we did it at Brunswick Perry Hall.
Okay.
which is down the street from your family's lanes. We're in Parkville.
Correct.
Your family's lanes were Hartford and Taylor in the back for we have a huge Parkville people, right? So it's in the back of the plaza. This is up in Perry Hall. So if we go in and it's just like this. It's 2 in the afternoon. There's nobody in the center, and it's downstairs there too. Brunswick's downstairs in the back. And Danny walks in, and he has autographs on the wall in the gift shop, right? He's got a special Danny ball. He's got bags with monogram this. This is when he's doing all the Pete crotch shop, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Exactly. He's got the fire shirt going on, monogrammed. And I walk in with my kid, and we're going to
grab a ball off the rack.
So I grabbed the ball off the rack. I grabbed the lightest ball that my little hand with my missing finger can fit into. And we went down to the lanes. And Danny's he's checking the oils and he's checking the lanes. And he's just going to kick my ass, right? He was going to kick my ass. He was healthy. He has a wrist thing going on and all that stuff he does. And he's trying to pick out a ball from like, Danny, that ball's heavy. My finger doesn't fit in that hole. Let me bowl what the hell I want to bowl. That little ball, you don't want to do the house ball, all that. So we get on the lanes, and I'm warming up, and I had never touched a 10-pin ball in my life. And I'm not making that up. Why would I? With duck pin ball. Went out on the lanes, and had one strike. Danny had an open frame. Had another strike. Danny had a strike. Had another strike. Danny has spare. I'm up. I had 5 or 6 strikes in a row to start. I had an 80-pin advantage real quick, like by the 4th or 5th frame.
Man sweating.
And now he's sitting back looking. He's trying to do the math. He's like, dude, I need 5 strikes to beat you, once we got to the 6th frame. And he hit one, maybe hit a second one, then he busted, and I won. And I'm in a bowling center. This is like hitting a homer off of Messina or something with a cage. And the only thing better than telling you the story is that he went and printed that I did it. He autographed it to me. And every time he's ever come on the show, I dog his ass. I beat a Hall of Fame bowler.
One game.
And it's the greatest sports accomplishment. Other than learning to eat with chopsticks.
Did you call quits?
Other than learning to eat with chopsticks after I was shamed in Beijing when my wife and I ordered a bowl of soup in China and they brought me toothpicks to eat the soup with. And I thought at that moment I'm going to learn how to do chopsticks.
Yeah, wow.
I haven't touched a 10-pin ball in 22 years. I beat him in the first game, and then I rolled up.
Mike
How
drop.
would you want to pick up a ball after Mike
I
drops?
rolled 2
It's all
more, and
downhill.
he kicked my ass the next 2 because I went along with it. But I didn't want to bowl those 2 games.
Wow.
I wanted to just drop it. So I haven't touched a 10-pin ball since that day.
That's
and
awesome.
that's a
That's
true
awesome.
story.
That's awesome.
What's
He
your
was in
true
here.
story
He
here?
was in here. No, Danny was in here. He moved. I think he moved to California or something. Florida. He moved to Florida. He came in, gave all kind of memorabilia to the kids, and he was in his glory. All the kids, and I threw up on the big screen
He's one of my
because these
favorite
kids
people in the
didn't know who he was really that much. So
We're
I
gonna
threw
bring
up
him back.
all
I'm gonna
his
get him to
big.
come up here when he
I
comes
threw
back.
up all of the big videos on YouTube
You know
of
what
his
I'm gonna do
wins,
with
and
him right
oh
now?
my God,
Hold
he
on,
was in his
you
glory.
guys, I'm gonna talk to Danny. Remember in Rocky at the end when they were hugging each other? And he said, "Ain't gonna be no rematch."
We'll do it right here. We'll do it here.
I told Danny there was not going to be a rematch because when you beat a
One
Hall
on
of
one
Famer,
though. Make him bowl on the other side too. You can do 1-on-1.
David will fill the house. Just get it going.
We'll do it. Look, you got. Duck,
Can we
you
do this for
you
his
go,
foundation? Can we do this for if we could do this for a scholarship?
Nestor, you could
foundation?
do duck pin and 10-pin both at the same time.
I'm going to take a picture right now, and then you're going to tell me while I take the picture how this happened, and then we're going to get back to horse racing because I want to do that. How did this happen?
Yeah, no, I mean, this was, look, I've been in here since I was a kid. I really did. You know, I would always come in
you
here.
grew up in the neighborhood.
I grew up.
I
Yeah,
think
well,
he
I mean,
was
I would
Dundalk,
come
you
in
know?
here. No. I moved up here mid-'80s. It was right when this place was opening, and this is where I'm old as a kid. I was 10 years old or something like that.
So you knew the lady that ran it?
Yeah, well, it changed hands a few times, and I was at Gulfstream Park, and I always said, I know the economics. No one's getting rich owning a bowling alley, but this was like I said, this was a community center. It really was. And I always said to the lady that owned it, I said, look, make me your first call. If you ever can't do this anymore, don't sell this to be a car dealership or something else. So.
I would have turned it into a curling center.
Yeah,
That's what I would have
it's
done,
duck pins. You can't. I mean, I was at Gulfstream Park. I remember my phone rang. I said, "It's a lady that owns a bowling alley." I said,
Not
"It's
big
well."
enough for highlight. I don't. Doesn't have a ceiling for that, does it? I don't think it does. No.
So she called me. I was in Gulfstream Park, and I was in the paddock at Gulfstream Park. And,
Lovely, by the way.
Beautiful. Love Gulfstream Park. But so, long story short, I kind of racked my brain to figure out, okay, how can I make the economics work? And, you looked at the numbers and it doesn't work. There's no way. I mean, you can't spend what she wanted for the property here. So that's when I kind of came up with this idea laying in bed. We had just opened the Timonium OTB, and Alan remembers when it was quite a process when we opened the Timonium OTB, and we did it on behalf of the industry. And I said, wait a minute, okay.
I have been to Nick's Grandstand Grill.
It's a great place.
I have done shows
great place.
there. I've
Fantastic.
had the
What we had to go through to get that open.
Hey,
oh
Tommy,
my
appreciate
goodness!
you, brother.
But no, we were just doing that. So I said, okay, wait a minute. I said, OTB. There's a lot of horse people up there in Carroll County. I said, why don't we figure out an OTB with that? And that's where instead of putting it in here, I would have had to knock out some duck pin lanes. I'm not knocking out duck pin lanes.
Attaboy.
I'm not doing it. So that's when I met Chris next door, and I said, okay, instead of putting it at the bowling alley, there was a bank next door. He was empty space. Chris couldn't fill it because he didn't have the parking for it. And I said, instead of competing with one another, let's partner. And he's one of the best guys I've ever met in my life. I mean,
makes a hell of a crab cake too.
Makes a great character, but just a decent guy.
And we became him as a customer, yes?
I never knew him. I just knew his
You just came and had
restaurant. I knew his
crab cakes.
restaurant.
So I knew him before you knew him?
No,
I've known
way
him 15
before.
years.
I just walked in. I said, let me talk to the owner.
Wow, okay.
And I said, look, I've got a crazy idea. I might, be interested in saving the bowling alley next door. Maybe we can go in business together. And I pitched the idea of doing the OTB, and we partnered with Maryland Jockey Club, and we put an OTB over there. And that OTB is what kind of generated, some buzz and let us, have some confidence that we could do this financially, and it just worked. It just worked, and we did the OTB. That
was at a bowling alley.
5 or 6 years ago.
This nice.
Yeah, well,
You know what I
appreciate
mean?
it.
Like,
Thank you.
literally,
I mean,
right?
we've rebuilt it from the ground. I mean, she had tube televisions and carpet on the walls, and this is,
If I told my wife I was taking her out bowling and we came up here for a disco night or
call it for
a
Taylor Swift night.
Swift
Call it
night.
for Taylor Swift night. I think June 1st. I think we just sent something out.
I'm a closet Taylor Swift fan.
Come on, man.
I'm a
You'll see.
closet
This place
Swiftie.
will be packed. Be packed with
My
people.
wife's been playing the new album in the car, lately. But your horse racing work predates all of this, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I've been...
I mean, you guys have known each other a long time.
30
Alan
years.
Foreman's
Yeah,
here.
25, 30
We
years.
did a lot on, and the Preakness is coming in a couple of weeks, and I can't. You're the marketing guy. You're taking this over. That these changes are coming. I think you're about to share with me maybe the most long-form story of this that you've done. I haven't seen any of this on the news. Quite frankly, the new news people, young people, they don't know about any of this. They put a hat on. I mean, I remember talking to Brandon Scott when he was city council president. I saw him at the Preakness, and he's, dressed up. We were out there that day. I saw John Angelos that day and Stuart Pittman's. This is when the Save the Preakness buttons were out. So probably 6-7 years ago. And he told me he had never been to the racetrack in his life, and he grew up in a neighborhood. Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, so it's if you're a horse racing person and you and I start talking about Dick Girardi and Marty McGee and all these, Charlie Ekman and all that, what is it now? And Alan, I'll let you come in on this because you talk about it sort of crashing to the point where, like, it needed to be rethought, rebuilt. You went 3.5 years trying to put this thing together. There's a lot of questions. Even the last night at the legislature 3 weeks ago, I ran into you in Fort Myers at spring training. You said, man, the big one's next week. You'll let me know. The night before, you text me and said, tomorrow is our day. I lit a candle for you because I'm that guy. What happened in Annapolis a couple of weeks ago, Al?
Well, David will tell you, I didn't have any doubt that it would pass. We could not take a bill to the legislature until we had an agreement with the Strana Group. They wanted an ironclad agreement that a not-for-profit would take over operations here, that there would be a change, maybe not so much ownership of the Preakness, but control of the Preakness, and that there was a plan going forward that could be executed within the framework that was approved in 2020. No new money. There's not going to be any taxpayer dollars. We had to figure out a way to make this work, but it would not have moved forward without ironclad agreements with the Strana Group. And
so they still own it or will own it or no?
They will continue to own the Preakness. It belongs to them. And the only way we would acquire that is if we actually bought it. And there's some question as to the value of the long-term value of the Preakness and the rights to all the Preakness properties, the intellectual property.
And the media, the television,
all that.
Yeah,
all
sure.
that. The state wasn't going to buy that, didn't have the money to do it, probably couldn't justify doing it, although it probably would have made infinite sense to do so. And so a brilliant Baltimore lawyer who heads the Maryland Racetrack Thoroughbred Operating Authority, Greg Cross, negotiated these agreements on behalf of the governor and the state. And he was able to arrange a licensing agreement where...
So you say the governor and the state, is this left over from Hogan, or has this changed
this
a
is
little bit during the Westmore administration?
Well, it's changed because the plan that was approved during the Hogan administration wasn't going to happen. And quite frankly, and I think it was made very clear to us, and I'd certainly try to make clear to David and our people, that if we don't come up with a plan now, and if we don't get it done now, and we don't get agreements executed, it will never happen. And the fate of Maryland racing and the Preakness going forward, in my own personal opinion, was highly in doubt. So we knew a year ago we had 1 year to get this fixed and to get it right. And we've actually been working for years, but very intensely in the last year, looking at various options. The Maryland Thoroughbred Racetrack Operating Authority was created for several purposes. One, most importantly, if the Stronach Group decided to reduce live racing in the state or not operate at all, we needed somebody to step in to keep things going if they decided to bail.
Other than they were just going to come in for a week and to run the Preakness?
Right, exactly. It would have killed the industry and killed the breeding industry. So we needed to have an entity, a state entity, that would have the ability to step in and take over, number one. Number two, we needed this authority to reimagine and restudy the 2020 plan, which was not economically feasible, and make it work and see if there was a way to make it work. That's how we came up with this plan. It's called Pimlico Plus, which is now consolidation of racing at Pimlico with the construction of a training center. And
so this will be owned by the state, correct?
The state will own Pimlico, okay? The state will own the training center. Racing will be operated by a not-for-profit that is currently being created.
It doesn't even exist.
No.
Correct.
The overlord of what will be what I would know as Frank DeFrancis, or what modern people might know as Frank Stronach and then Belinda, the person who owns the industry will be this new thing.
Will be us. Controlling our own
The
destiny.
Stronach folks, Belinda's folks in the future only own Preakness, not the week of Preakness, just the name of Preakness.
They own it, but they're going to license it to the state of Maryland, and we will control
You're going to rent the name of
Preakness.
it.
Correct.
So she wants nothing to do with any of this other than the fact that she owns this asset called the Preakness that is leased back on an annual basis. It's a fee. You pay her X million of this, and you get that, and then you have to go, and then you have the whole...
Right. Now,
This is different, folks.
This is creative. This is creative.
The 25th anniversary will show this week. I've been here for all of this, and it's nothing like...
But
you told me it was going to...
it was creative.
That's why I didn't want to
creative.
start this in the last segment.
Sure.
I wanted to really do the history for anybody that is just flying over and wants to take 2 hours in this podcast at Greenmount Bowl and learn a little bit, because, like, I know a lot about this, and I know a lot about structure. I've done a lot of alibis, all of that stuff. I guess what we're talking about is rethinking all of it.
Look,
So
right?
Go
I
ahead.
mean,
Yeah, no. I mean, we're
because
putting...
Laurel's going to be gone, right?
Laurel's going to be
Eventually,
gone.
yes.
And then probably, well, we've got a 3-year lease agreement at Laurel, rent-free, where this transition from...
But there's not any money going into Laurel because it's falling apart, right?
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
fair
We're going to
enough.
keep, while we build the
And
new...
that will be an asset the state can turn into a car dealership or...
No. Laurel will
Okay.
revert. It's owned by the Stronachs.
training.
They will keep it, and they will commercially develop it. If they want to, we'll be completely
they can make
out
it
of
the
there.
mall. It's their land.
They can do what
It's
they
their land.
want.
It's
It
their
belongs
land.
to them.
So what the Stronachs get out of this is they get the land, they get the lease Preakness back to you.
Correct.
They wash their hands of every one
Correct.
of you, everything,
Yeah.
all the debt,
The
all
losses.
the loss. They're done with that. They're just now a slum landlord at Laurel when it's all over with, to sell it, piece it, parcel it, do all that, and they're going to get a check every year, guaranteed revenue from the name Preakness. And that's their take in this.
Yeah,
right?
and the industry itself and the Preakness will be controlled by Marylanders, Maryland horsemen, the state of Maryland, and it's our
But
responsibility.
you're going to name a commission. There's going to be
Correct.
There's going to be a Frank DeFrancis or a Joe. There's going
Well,
to be that kind of
there
person,
will be.
right?
First of all, you have the authority. The authority will oversee the property,
Maryland Stadium
just
Authority?
like this is the Maryland Thoroughbred Racetrack Operating Authority, which works with the Maryland Stadium Authority. So there should be
Like that.
confidence.
Okay, got
There
it.
should be confidence in that. I'm a member of the board of this new authority, and I can tell you
It's a new
that
authority.
It was
we're
created
doing
last
the
year.
same thing the Maryland Stadium Authority did 40 years ago, which is we're going to have a new state-run.
Correct.
Well, but the great
organization.
thing is the Maryland Stadium Authority is overseeing this construction project. They're intimately involved. They will be responsible for the construction of both the new Pimlico and the new training center. And there's already been a ton of legwork done over the past 4 or 5
Well,
years.
I've invited Craig
they're-
on. I saw Craig on opening day. Tom Kelso's been on many, many times, much to the chagrin of some Democrats. And hey, man, black, white, right, left, Democrat. I just want truth. That's that's my story. I'd love to have Craig Thompson and what their role in all of this is. Because let's be honest, man, we're all paying for it, right? We're citizens, right? I mean, we're in this. But to your point, there's no new money, and the money that was already allocated is now going to stay in the city.
Correct.
It's going to be a new thing. And we're figuring out what that. But the plans are drawn for that. Or are we going to redraw the
No,
plans?
the design was never done for Pimlico because
Oh,
the
okay.
project stalled. We did engage through the procurement process. The design team, they're world renowned.
It was a picture. It wasn't like a whole thing.
It was a rendering
Right.
done
It was a
for
rendering.
purposes of the
Okay,
plan.
right.
They are now, but if you want to get some sense of what we may be looking at, Belmont Park is undergoing the same reconstruction that we are doing here. They're going to eliminate Aqueduct. Racing in New York will be consolidated at Belmont and then at Saratoga in the summer. They are building a facility very similar to what we're doing. They're downsizing substantially.
Well, that place is ginormous,
Yeah.
right? Like
But,
three
it's
times
3
I go up there for a
battleships,
triple
right?
crown. 3 times. Smarty Jones, Big Brown, Funny Side, nothing.
Yeah.
And then the
Right.
one year
Bang,
I don't
bang,
go.
bangs. Yeah.
But-
I got to kiss Baffert's ass about pharaohs and like all of this, right? But I mean, I love the sport. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah, so do we.
But we're
yeah.
positioning racing in Maryland for the next 30 years.
Something new, something different.
And it's going to be fresh, and there's going to be a
local.
lot of changes.
And local.
I mean, it's not going to look the same, but it's going to be for Maryland, by Maryland, and about Maryland. And that, to me, is you can't replace that. And there are only 2 places in the country where this kind of transformation is taking place. One is New York at Belmont, and the other is Maryland. So for us and for the racing industry, it's a very exciting time with great opportunity but great challenges. This is not an easy project. It's
Yeah, I was
never
gonna
been.
say, like, I'm about to think about quitting this thing and selling this thing. I want to come run your thing, and I'm thinking that'd be hard. I mean, you know what I mean? Like literally, it would be difficult. Dave, talk about the challenges. Talk about like what. Okay, so you got this done, and you and I the night before were. You both thought it was going to happen. You said to me, "Let's get together, maybe up at the bowling place." And I picked this day when I can go next door and have a cold one and watch the Orioles play. What have we done in eliminating the Stronachs, and what is probably a lot of things sitting there to saying, all right, what's first and foremost? Design of the new facility, right? I mean, obviously, and then whoever, and it probably isn't going to be me, but you do well to have someone like me run whatever it is, and deal with horses, trainers, tracks, construction, the state, gamblers. And then really trying to attract people.
Sure.
Because, I mean, you mentioned Gulfstream to me. I was down at Gulfstream when they opened it for the Super Bowl about 2009. It was a Fort Lauderdale Super Bowl. Everything was up there. And I remember meeting my wife at the track that night, and I had been there before it was fixed. And then I went back like 4 years ago. My God, the whole community that we talk about being built around it.
Sure.
It was a tired old racetrack in
Yeah.
a tired neighborhood like on a Ritchie Highway.
Yeah.
And now they've basically turned it into, Gucci Mall South, all around. I mean, it looks like about Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It looks like a little gold Las
Sure.
Vegas
Sure.
on the side of Fort Lauderdale. Like they followed through 15 years later. And I would say we're not doing that in Pimlico, but we're doing
But we have
something.
the opportunity to do something different too. It's that's the biggest challenge is, we have a whole industry. Like I said, it's a $2+ billion industry to the state of Maryland. So, the biggest challenge is going to be figuring out how to convert, our community. I mean, we have in Maryland, we're going to have over 1,200 horses that we have to house, and we have a whole community and the whole industry with that. So the transition and going from right now we have horses at Laurel and we have horses at Pimlico, and we have a workforce that actually lives at both racetracks. So we have to figure out how to, reconstruct Pimlico from the ground up, and literally Pimlico will be scraped and rebuilt from the ground up. Even the racetrack.
Laurel will be primary for a couple, 3
Laurel
years.
will be. Laurel will actually
So you
host
have
the
to put a little
Preakness.
bit of money there to make sure the pipes,
Yeah,
the water runs.
I mean,
right?
Laurel
The
will
river, right?
actually
Yeah.
host the Preakness, the 151st Preakness, which is in 2026, correct?
Right,
So the
that's right.
2026 Preakness.
Nobody told me nothing about this. Now,
The
come on.
2026 Preakness
2
will be
years from
held.
next month.
Will be held at Laurel. I think there's still some planning to do as to
Can
how
I say
the.
it like Ekman? Laurel.
Sure, go ahead.
Lovely Laurel.
Laurel. There
so,
you go.
So Laurel's not going away anytime soon, but eventually, the overall goal is to consolidate racing at Pimlico and to build a training facility. Could be in Carroll County here. There's one piece of property in Carroll County that's under consideration. We're really excited about that. It's a farm called Shamrock Farm. There's also a piece of property in Aberdeen that's under serious consideration, and even the Bowie racetrack. Believe it or not, that's still around. As a
I always see it when I fly
facility.
over it. When the airplane comes in down by Bowie, I'm like, you can always see the track.
Bowie's there. That was
Yeah.
Bowie had the best racing surface. I mean, we may have stopped training there. And what was it, 2014, 15 or so? I think.
Still had-
1987. Rich Petro puts me in a station wagon. Hey, let's go down to the track. We're going to Bowie. And I went down there. You go in, little white card up in the escalator there. And he's like, look, in the 5th race, you bet J.C. Poise and sole proprietor you box at. You don't do anything else today. You don't box at. I didn't box it. Paid $290. 37 years later, I'm still pissed about it. But yeah.
So
I could have been a contender.
You could have been.
That's
You
a
could have
little
been. You
Florio
did
there
okay.
for
You did
a
okay.
little
But
Florio.
Bowie's still under consideration. Like I said, we got 3 properties. I think it's still it's probably going to be between one of those 3. I mean, I guess the door's still open if there was another piece of property. That will be the training facility that feeds. We'll probably have about. It could have up to 600 to 700 horses at Pimlico once Pimlico is rebuilt. So
Pimlico fully running, operational, 27. Yes?
27. That's the goal.
Okay, so
That is the goal.
27. We get Pimlico open. What in your mind does racing look like? Like, how many people go there? How many people go there on a Tuesday or Wednesday? Is there a disco? Is there slot machine? What is that facility? Because I know it's not a big red racetrack that's falling apart that's half condemned,
Sure.
and it's not going to look like a grandstand. It's not going to look like Guys and Dolls.
Sure.
It's just not,
Sure.
right?
But it's a different day. It's a different age, and we have to, at least with this, we have the ability to craft this the way that, that Baltimore accepts, that Maryland accepts.
Look, I go to Merriweather now, and I see what they've done there from a concert, and I've been going to Merriweather 40 years. Same, different lawn, value, sitting up front for, a big show, paying more. But it's an incredible experience, and they've improved it dramatically in so many ways, and I brag about it all the time. I think that if you're building something that doesn't look like Del Mar, that doesn't look like Hollywood or Gulfstream, there's something about it that is forward-thinking right off the bat.
The challenge, look, we host one of the premier sporting events in the world here, Preakness. We really do.
It's our Super Bowl. We get it
It's
every
our
year.
Super Bowl, and no disrespect to the Stronach folks, but the Preakness actually lost money, by their accounts. They lost money. The Kentucky Derby profited well in excess of $100 million. So we've got this entity of the Preakness, and Stronach. The Preakness has changed. Back when, we were talking about and reminiscing about the Preakness was made for Baltimore. The Preakness was a different entity. It was a different experience.
Bud
it was
Light
a
Knights and the
it was a
Clydesdales
different experience because it was catered to Maryland, Baltimore. It was a Baltimore thing.
Well, my Fadley's friends do the Lexington crab race. We're going to be doing that in a couple weeks.
Which Stronach did, and I give Belinda credit and I give their team credit. They tried something different, but it was more of a. I said it in one meeting, it was more like South Beach. It was more something that worked at Gulfstream or something that worked at Santa Anita. But those things don't really work in Baltimore. We know it. This is our culture. This is who we are. Baltimore's a little different. It's a different customer. And Preakness when Preakness was profitable and successful, it's because it was it was the people's party. The Preakness was the people's party, and it kind of got away from that. It kind of got away from.
Well, I mean, Bruno Mars and Tom Brady and Kevin Plank and the Under Armour big thing they have out there. I've gone to 15 of the last 20 Preaknesses, so
it's different.
I've seen it. But I'm trying to envision what it's going to look like when there's not a track
So
there
let me
anymore
tell
with
you.
all that. Yeah.
All right. So let me tell you what's going to be different. Mm-hmm. The grandstand, the clubhouse, I don't even call it a grandstand, will be a third the size of what it currently is. Maximum capacity weekday 5,000. Room for people to move around. People don't want to sit in seats today at any sporting event.
Well, that's what they're talking about, stadiums. Yeah. That's why I'm saying the Hill. I talk about. Yeah. That's why I brought Merriweather up, because I'm thinking if you have a little height and you don't need a structure to watch a 90-second horse race, to go back into something comfortable where you can eat, drink, gamble, whatever you want to do, indoor, have a smoke, whatever it is, in and out, right? Like, I love going out to Pimlico, and I'll go there, and the damn elevators won't work 2 weeks from now. Maybe they'll throw me out of the press box again if I even get there.
You can't get up there.
David Joseph, please. I'm still here. I'm still real media. Trust me. But like I think about like what that day is going to look and feel like. But for so many people, it's grass, and they don't see the horses. The infield side of that.
So we're going to build it up, and they're going to be overlays. You go I don't know if you went to Caves Valley when the pro golfers were here.
I did.
That was all overlays around a golf course. You take those overlays away, you've just got open golf course land. They made it stadium style. The way it was built, stadium around the 18th green.
It was born that way, didn't it?
It was gorgeous, and that's what we will be doing. There'll be pads there. We will build up for Preakness. We will take down if there are special events that we want to do. We can build up with overlays and take them down. But to build a huge clubhouse
for one day
a year makes no sense at all. So what we've told the design team is, number one, we want an iconic facility. Number two, we want to be able to use it on a day-to-day basis for racing.
Make it look like Memorial Stadium.
Okay, I have to tell you.
I'm just dreaming, man. I mean,
look, there's some people who like the design that the Stadium Authority did, 6, 7, 8 years ago for Pimlico.
The glass looking thing.
It wasn't a glass thing. That was before what we did. I hated it. And they brought it up, and I said, please don't show me that again. I want an iconic facility for future generations. I don't want to look like, and no offense to old Baltimore, I don't want it to look like an Enoch Pratt Library.
No offense to Janet Marie, who built a baseball stadium to look old school.
But it fit there.
Right. But this get Janet Marie. Canopy will build this for you. She'll make
you want to transform that portion of Baltimore and start to liven things up. This is just my own view.
It's a centerpiece for something new you're trying to do.
It
has to be shiny.
Correct.
It has to everything we talked about in this bowling alley. It has to stand out. It has to be different.
The other problem is that
you guys get me excited about, because the same thing with the Rubenstein people buying the Orioles. I keep using this Deepak Chopra, a little deep thought for you here. Pure potentiality. Yeah. Like literally, it's a blank canvas with a rich history behind that canvas, and it's how do you make people want to come to that canvas and peer through and touch that history, but also feel like I'm not doing an old fuddy-duddy thing. Bowling's an old fuddy-duddy thing to some degree. Look at how sexy it is in here right now.
Look what David has done here.
Look better on my face.
It's a bowling alley, but you walk in and you have an entertainment center in here, and people come on a Saturday night. You can't get in here, and it's that kind of thinking that we need, that I think we can incorporate into what we're doing. And there's a desire, a real desire in the heart to do it. And no criticism of the Stronach Group, because I think it would be any privately operated operator who would have trouble with that model, who just, they're out of state, they're not interested.
Ekman would say right now, and this will make you smile, you want an expert? Call somebody from out of town. That's all. Hey, leader. Hey. I could. If I do Charlie in the press box, it would be blue. If I do Charlie on the radio, it wouldn't be blue. They don't know their ass from their elbow.
But
call them two cabs, them Canadians. They don't. He would be going nuts with that, wouldn't he? He would be.
Our challenge is that Pimlico isn't big enough to consolidate the industry. Boy, it'd be great if we could put everybody in one place, eliminate the expense of a training center. It's very difficult to have 1,400 horses at one track with just the two surfaces, maybe the three we'll have. So we have to do a training center, but we can do that in a way that could be really exciting also.
Well, the Ravens have a training center. It's all fun.
Yeah,
right?
I think we'll
sure.
attract horsemen from across the country. I think it'll be great for racing. The surfaces at the training center will be identical to the surface at Pimlico, so there's no disadvantage of. But, those who want to be at Pimlico can be at Pimlico. Those who want to be at the training center. We hope we have it close enough to Pimlico that the vanning is not an issue. We're going to have new housing for the backstretch workers. The current housing, you wouldn't put your worst enemy in.
I know about that.
It's a disgrace. It's embarrassing. David's been working.
Below
David's
the
doing
bar,
some really
as
creative.
John Harbaugh would say. Yeah.
Well, I mean, David's doing some really creative work there, and so it's a very exciting time. But is it challenging?
Okay, so give me a timeline here, because timeline was 3 weeks ago. You're like, I hope. Now it's like, let's do a show and talk about it a little bit.
Sure.
And that's, and this is just an entree because there's going to be updates.
Sure.
I have a feeling you guys are going to be coming back to me before next year's Preakness and saying there's something else going on. But
hopefully,
give me the top 3-4 things on your mind that for our audience.
Hopefully Governor Moore signs this legislation, which we have every indication
I think
that
he'll
he
do
will.
it Preakness week. I think he wants to celebrate the Preakness. I think you'll see it.
Good, come have a crab cake with me.
So once Governor Moore signs the legislation, it needs to go to the Board of Public Works. Once that's done, then the work really, we've been doing work for the past few years, but then the work really ramps up. The next 2 Preaknesses will be held at Pimlico. This is the 149. This is 149. Next year is 150. There's going to be some challenges next year because there will be, Alan, what do you think, about the first of the year before you'll see some demolition at Pimlico? I think that's probably what
I
we're
was
looking
hoping
at.
maybe the end of this year, but there's some advanced work that needs to be done. I think by Preakness 2025, the condemned portion of the grandstand that's covered with tarps will be down. And
it'll
the old
it'll be a breezeway.
And the old barns will be down.
Okay.
So that work will be done before the 2025 Preakness. As soon as 2025 Preakness is over, then the whole demolition is going to take place.
And then you have literally 23 months, kind of, sort of.
Stadium Authority thinks they can get the project done in 3 years from January 1, 2025. We would not have worked the agreements on that timeline if we weren't comfortable that they were comfortable in getting this work done. I think the other timeline, and maybe, David, you were coming to that, is that this new not-for-profit we're creating will take over. This industry and the authority are going to take over Maryland racing on January 1, 2025. So
6 months from now. 7
That's
months
right.
From now. Okay.
The only involvement the Stronach Group will have, and they'll certainly cooperate during the transition, and they'll still own Laurel, is that they will conduct the 2025 and 2026 Preakness, 2025 in Baltimore, 26 at Laurel.
When you say conduct, so it's Bruno Mars, it's that
whatever they
mindset,
want to
whatever they
do,
wanna
it's their baby.
It's their, okay.
We don't take over until 2027, and that will be the first Preakness under this new regime that we're creating. It'll be new, and it'll be different.
All right, well, so what have we learned here? Danny Wiseman and I have a rematch here at Greenmount Bowl. We're going to have a Preakness in a couple of weeks, and we're going to run 2 of these, and then we're going to go to Laurel. And then we're going to come back to a brand new shiny thing at Pimlico. That's going to be different. Did I sum all that
And better.
up?
We will.
I would think everybody in your industry, the people that grow horses, make horses, feed horses, stall horses, care to horses, all of that, the veterinarian, everybody, landowner, just everybody has to be pleased with the fact that just the old way was not tenable. Even if you're thinking, Dave and Alan don't know what the hell they're doing, we're all going to hell. At least it's different than whatever the psychology was before, because there is a new North Star, right? There's a new thing you're going to do here.
Absolutely. So, and the future is going to be in the industry's hands. I don't want to say just Alan. It's
instead of giving our money to somebody else, we're going to give it to ourselves. But we're betting on ourselves. We think we can do this. We think we can be successful, and we wouldn't be able to build a new facility. We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing if we didn't have not only the confidence to do it, but we work with experts for years now who firmly believe we can make this work.
Well, for me to sort of endorse it one way or another, just to hear it, I'm trying to get my arms around it. But I'm so far gone, 32 years into doing this on the radio, that you don't have to sell me on the fact that there are horse farms out here and there's a real industry and there's a lot of land. I've been given that on the PR crap side and on the reality side of it backs up. It checks out.
Sure.
I mean, in this state, and if you live in the city, you're like, I don't go to the track. I don't bet on that. I don't play lacrosse, but I understand it's important.
It means something
right?
to the
you
state.
Know what I mean? So a lot of people, look, we just gave these billionaires $600 million each that literally run from me. Literally don't want no questions, want no accountability at all for these billion-dollar properties that they have. And I love sports, but I've been taken advantage of in that way, right? And we all have been taken advantage of. You guys are trying to do this sort of on the up and up, understanding that, to your point, 1975, it was the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's not anymore, but it can still be a regional thing. The way duck pins.
Absolutely.
The way you can save duck pins here, we can save horse racing, right?
We are so much a part of the history, the culture, and the economy of this state. And I travel all over the country with my work. Everybody knows Kentucky is the capital of thoroughbred racing, but there's no other state that I've been to that has that same feel than Maryland. This state is gorgeous, and when you drive around, it doesn't matter east, west, north, south. You see horse farms.
It's one more reason that the Colts name should have never gone to Indianapolis.
Correct.
Right? I mean, literally, right? Yeah, okay. We can all agree on that. Can we go watch the Orioles play?
Don't even go there.
Alan Foreman, it is a pleasure to know you. It's been a long time coming. Thank you. I enjoyed a delicious crab cake with you and shared some stories, some mutual friends that we both beam about because we know good people, right? We literally, I mean,
been a pleasure.
If there's nothing in this documentary that I put this thing out, is that people are smiling that I previewed it to, but there's so many people that have brought sports together, and people like you, I can't believe I've never met you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've met everybody. How can I meet a guy with all these mutuals?
Because I'm just a lawyer. You know, I'm not the guy who's doing the kind of stuff.
But
that
you got
Dave
the
and Otis
answers,
are
though.
doing.
You know what I mean?
I've been around a long
day.
time. I've seen everything that's happened in Maryland racing. I've been on that watch.
Listen,
I've seen it.
I told my wife will tell you I don't listen to anybody, but she agrees. I listen to my lawyer and I listen to my doctor. And I listen to JR, my engineer, my radio engineer. Other than that, I don't take anything from anybody.
I told David to trust me on this deal, and look what happened.
Well, look,
it's been a long road.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to bake up. And this is not my last time here in the bowling. Next time I'm going to have disco boots on, and we'll do it up up here. You know what you should do? It's a good idea for you. Do a yacht rock night up here.
I'll give it this summer. Coming soon.
Do a yacht
Coming
rock
soon.
night up here and have
You
everybody.
do the playlist. We'll pack them in.
Outside, like put something that's yacht rocky out here. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe we'll bring Christopher Cross in here, huh? We'll do a little concert right
sail.
here, right on the lanes.
I
had J.R. Richards here last year from Dishwalla. He came in. He came in last year, so
I like this.
Hook us up.
All
Hook
right.
us up.
Rock and roll is here to stay. We're up here at Greenmount Bowl, next to Greenmount Station. Yes, you can gamble. Yes, you can OTB. Yes, you can get a crab cake. Yes, you can watch the Orioles game. And you can also, when's the Taylor Swift thing? Promote that.
June 1st. I think June. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's sold out, isn't it?
It will be. I have to go check the book up there. It might be, but we'll promote it. We'll get the word out there.
All right.
It's sold out in 10 minutes.
Hurry up, Romeo. Take me. My thanks to everybody up here in Carroll County for always supporting us as well. Our friends at the Maryland Lottery give me these Pac-Man scratch-offs, and because you guys are of the tender age, they get the Pac-Man scratch-offs as well. I'm going to be at Faithley's on Friday with Luke Jones for the Orioles game. There are going to be more Crab Cake Tour stops coming, but right now my wife's out of town. I'm trying to get this crazy movie done. The movie is premiered. No one listens. Everyone hears, and evidence of that is that you are listening right now to WNST. AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore. We're signing off from Greenmount Bowl in Carroll County because the baseball game's coming on and I got Oriole fever.